Good evening, everyone. It is the 19th, Monday evening here. I'm preparing this for the 20th, Tuesday morning, and I have been thinking a lot about history and church organizations, and how that these church organizations are directly related to oftentimes secular education. We know that many of the universities in the United States started as seminaries, and now look where they're at today. Universities like Yale and Harvard and Oxford, and look at those universities today. And when you think about some of the major denominations in the United States, what comes to our minds? Well, first and foremost, we think of Presbyterian Church, Baptist Church, United Methodist Church, Episcopal Church, Lutheran Church, and then some of the later churches that came on that are not as prevalent today. Assembly of God's kind of gone down. They've kind of, they're dwindling. One time they were pretty popular. You have Pentecostal churches, of course, and you have large religious organizations called Unitarian, Christian Science, and then of course you have Church of Christ, and so many different breeds of Baptists: Independent Baptist, First Baptist, Second Baptist, Southern Baptist, Northern Baptist, Landmark Baptist. And you say, well, why are you bringing this up? Well, the question that I have is, if Christ were down here today, would he endorse any of these churches that we're talking about? Would he become a member of the Episcopal Church? Would he become a member of the Southern Baptist Church, Lutheran Church, Presbyterian Church, the Pentecostal churches? Would he endorse these organizations? We look in Revelation, we see that he had something against a lot of the different churches. And I look back in the New Testament and I don't see these large, huge denominations. I see house churches. I see small churches in different little areas, like the church at Ephesus, the church at Corinth, the church at Colossae, the church at Thessalonica, and so many house churches that are mentioned. Paul mentions many of the house churches. Church at Philippi, and the largest one that we know of is the one that got into major trouble, and that was the church at Rome, right? What can we learn from looking at these huge edifices and these huge organizations, all their money and their prestige and their huge buildings and their massive, huge bank accounts? What can we learn? Well, the Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. And it also says that we are to worship God. We're not supposed to be worshiping a building made with hands. It says the day will come when he will dwell in a temple not made with hands. And so, Pineville Grace Fellowship meets in a little mobile home out in the little outskirts of Pineville, Missouri, on the top of an Ozark mountain. We don't have big buildings. We don't have a steeple. We don't have drop-down screens. We don't have pews. We don't have offering plates. We don't have expensive silver to serve communion with. We don't have a rock band. We don't have a parking place for reverend out in front. We don't have ushers. We don't have any of those things that most churches have that are supposed to be, vibrant churches. I drive by these huge buildings down in, Discover Church and Edge and the large Southern Baptist churches, Presbyterian and Episcopal churches. They're out there. They're out there. Churches of Christ. But I never felt comfortable worshiping in any of those large edifices for some reason. Just seemed like there was too much idolatry going on, And I feel more comfortable worshiping at home. I feel more comfortable not, I remember I used to watch James Kennedy, and he had this church called Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church in Fort Lauderdale. And, he had this pulpit, and he'd have to go up all these stairs, towering over all these people. And he wore a gown, or a robe, or whatever you want to call it. And I remember some of the other churches that I used to see on television, Robert Schuller wore a gown or a robe in the Crystal Cathedral, And Rex Humbard had a big church. And I can never remember that guy that used to be in Congress, the chaplain. And he had a big church. Overseeing it. I can't remember his name now. And there were so many of them that, they just, Charles Stanley, First Baptist Church of Atlanta, big, monstrous church. I visited the church of Adrian Rogers in Memphis, Tennessee, huge Southern Baptist church. I just never felt comfortable in that, I feel more comfortable worshiping where 2 or 3 are gathered together in His name. Here we are in the midst of it. And so, all of these huge edifices, what's really brought it home was watching some of the goings on with this Queen Elizabeth's funeral and all the pomp and circumstance going on with that. Christ said, "Let the dead bury their dead," And also, my mind goes back to a lot of the graduation ceremonies I used to go to, coming up as a child. And it was the exaltation of the preacher. I think it's time we get back to simple worship in house churches. Think about it. Hope you have a good day today. God bless.